Hey, here we go. Hi. Okay, minimal cue ball movement. I'm gonna use this tape. I'm on this side of the table. I did something super stupid and I have a stain on my table. I took, who cares? It's nothing gross. So first of all, nothing gross. I took the dry eraser and I, for some reason, tried to fix the table with the dry eraser and it was black and I got problems. So let's just forget about that half of the table for now. Okay, you have a cue ball in hand, okay? And this is your layout, all right? And you're a beginner, all right? You're even intermediate, let's say. Let's just be honest. So I had a beginner lesson and I asked the lesson person, I said, well, tell me your pattern. And they said, well, I'm gonna shoot, actually this one ball was over. I'm gonna fix this here. It's here. And they said, well, I'm gonna shoot the 1 ball to the 7 ball, okay? This is a beginner now, right? I'm not picking on anybody. And I said, okay, so you're gonna shoot this shot here, so you get right about here, right? Because then they wanted to shoot, let's move the 8 ball so it's a little bit better. It's like here, okay? So then they're like, yeah, because they were like, I'm gonna start with the 8 ball and I want my cue ball to be here. So then they were like, okay, so that was there. So I'm like, okay, so you're gonna move to here. And then they were like, okay, well then I'm gonna slide my cue ball down here for this area, okay? Let's say it was like here, right? Ish, right? And then they were gonna hit this shot here and bring the cue ball down to like this area. Hi. This area right here for shape on the 8, okay? So you can be yelling at the screen that you wouldn't play this pattern. And I get it, I understand, okay? If you're a beginner, you might be yelling, I would never play that pattern, I play a different pattern. That's fine, okay? That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. And I said, okay, now this is the amount of distance you traveled with the cue ball. 18 inches, 3 feet, about 5 feet. So you traveled about 5 feet with the cue ball. And what I said was, okay, this is how much 6 inches, this is how much I need to play this game with ball in hand. Okay? This might be too much. But I went like this. And I said, okay, that's how much cue ball travel I need on the first shot. Then, depending on where it goes, it's like, I really need it to travel and just replace the 7 ball. So it's actually, I don't need any cue ball movement, but if I really was shooting this, I would look at it and say, well, I just need this ball to replace the 7, and then I just need it to like come down here. And this is my zone for shooting the 1. I got about 6 inches of movement. So I got 0 to 6 inches, or let's just be fair. I only need to move it about 3 inches because I need a little bit of leftover tape to play position on the 8. Because I only need to move it about 3 inches here. Okay? Because if I get to well, more than that. Let's say, okay, I'm exaggerating. You guys caught me exaggerating. Because I did need to get a little angle. This wasn't the exact layout, so just give me a little grace here. We're going to say a foot total. So 9 there and 3 here. So we're going to move this ball to here because we're going to want to shoot the 8 ball from here. Okay? So we got set up run out 1, which is 5 feet of movement versus 1 foot of movement. And the issue is that the more the cue ball moves, the more opportunity there's for things to go wrong. And that's flat out the way it is. So what happened was they took ball in hand, they hit a good shot to here, and they actually ended up here, which was kind of where they wanted to be. But then they ended up hitting this shot down like that and almost scratched. It came in here, and now they were in big trouble, right? So my point is that as we play pool, we have to recognize that we don't have the cue ball control to go 5 feet. So if we look at minimal cue ball movement, it's like all we're doing is bunting in a ball. Okay, that's like anybody can do that. And then we're bunting in a ball straight. And then we're shooting the 1 and we're bunting in a ball, and we don't have to do anything fancy, just bunt. We're going right down that line. And now it comes down to this, sports fans. If you're a beginner, this shot's probably 30, 40%, okay? So if you missed it, 8 balls here. This shot's here. You were gonna win this game 90%, 95%, almost 100%. If you're playing beginner pool, it's 1 out of 10 most to bank that ball and whatever. So this was part of the lesson we had before, putting the 8 ball in front of the pocket, controlling the cue ball. If you hit it here, you're going to lose the game 9 out of 10 times. So it matters, right? So once you get here, you have to have a remembery. You have to remember that it's not about making the 8. It's about not leaving a shot on the 10. Because, okay, you want to play against a beginner. They might make this bank, and they might not, and they might just leave you that. Unless you're playing APA, they almost win it, and then you win from there. So, okay. So what I'm saying is, what this comes down to, the issue that we had, okay? This is a math game. I had that thing. Pool's a math game. It's like poker. So here's the issue. I know, because I've been doing this a long time, that my student has an exact percentage of running these balls out in this order at about a 5% clip. Maybe 5 out of 100. Maybe a half a times out of 10, okay? Maybe 1 out of 20 they could run it out their way. Especially when you add pressure, especially when you add a league match with their friends watching and things, then it's the low end of that range. And if they run it out my way, they can do this, this, and this at about a 60 to 70% clip. And so now we're just crushing that first attempt with all the cue ball movement. And if we end up here, that person is probably 30% to 50% to make this shot, okay? And if they hit it like that, they're probably about 90%, 80, 90% to win the game. So this is what I'm trying to teach is like, there are percentages in this game, and the way this even came about was that they were saying, well, let's break the balls. Let's play a game. I want to play a game with you. And I want to figure out what to do at the beginning of the game. And I said, no, we need to figure out what to do at the end of the game. Because the reality is when you have players that are beginner and intermediate, beginner all the way up to intermediate, this is how most of the games end up. They mostly end up with one person having a ball and hooking themselves and not hitting it, and then the other player comes to the table a lot of the times with ball in hand with 3 or 4 balls. This is not sometimes it's not ball in hand. Sometimes they miss a shot and the cue ball just randomly ends up wherever, okay? And the whole point is to figure out how to win from there. So it's the same thing. It's like, okay, if you come to the table, you don't have ball in hand, you just know that you have to bunt, because you can make those 3, and then we're going to bunt in the 8 because we're going to position the 8 and have a chance to win. So if this was the random positioning, we would go a little bit like this and just like that. It's like, oh my gosh, so much cue ball movement. Okay, that was like 4 inches. And then we do this one. And we're just bunting, right? And see, beginners can do this. They're totally capable of making these shots. And then the beginner does this shot, okay? And they don't really consider the cue ball and the rail. That's fine, because the beginner can make this shot and not leave a shot on the 10 like a bunch of times, right? So it's like they either miss it or make it. And even if they do that, yes, of course, this shot can be made, but on a beginner game with pressure in a league, this is like probably, you know, the outcome, right? And yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking to watch that, but that is much better. Okay, this end game here, if you're gonna play percentages, this end game in a beginner to intermediate game, an intermediate player is probably 30% to make that bank. A beginner is probably 10. And so getting to this end game and saying, I went in this game and I picked running the balls that was going to be at a 60, 70, 80% clip for me, choosing the right shots, the simple shots, 60%, let's say. So I went from 2 to 5% of running the balls the other way with all this cue ball movement to like a 50% chance of running the balls the way I laid it out with this minimal cue ball movement. Let's not even say run out. Let's say there's a 5% chance they're going to get a shot on the 8 ball with all this movement, and there's probably about a 50, 60% chance they're going to get a shot on the 8 ball in this range here. So now we've just like made massive improvements on our percentages to win the game, because if we get 6 chances at this 8 ball, and then we're going to make half of them, right? Well, then we won 3 games out of 10, whatever. I don't know. Math is hard. It's confusing me. Yeah. We won more games, let's just say. I'm not going to sit there and break down the math of the percentage of the percentage. I'm just saying that there are higher percentages that we're working with to get to this position. And even in this position, this is even a lower percentage bank for an intermediate player. So the whole point is that this is why minimal cue ball movement when you're playing 8 ball, and this is why it matters how to, like I have these videos, I'm gonna really close to getting them released. Hopefully they're released by the time this video comes out. But that's the point of these videos, stop roll patterns. It's about minimal cue ball movement in those videos. And so minimal cue ball movement is the base of how I run out pool tables. And it's the reason why I have a high percentage of run out. And it's the reason why I don't touch balls really when I'm running out, because I don't really need to touch balls. So if spheres, I don't really need to touch spheres. So, gosh. Okay, my kids balls. My kids always say that, balls. They just like saying that word. Okay, so let's set it up. Once you understand minimal cue ball movement and you understand where things are happening, then when you get to the table, okay, all right. Then when you get to the table, okay, and you get to the table and it's your turn, and you come up to the table and you're like, shitting your pants, right? Okay, let's say this is out of the way for this, but it's over in the way for this. But this goes in this pocket here. So it's like, let's just say it's more clustered like this, okay? Well, this is fine. Okay. Now, I wouldn't sit and hit this shot to slide down and hit this to get to this. It's a disaster, right? But if I hit this shot here, and then I go down to this shot here, I don't have to touch any of the balls of the opponent. I don't have to worry about the balls getting in the way. I don't have any problems. And I don't need to get super close to the 8 here, because I'm just trying to get a shot on the 8 to win, right? So now I have a shot on the 8 to win. And now I would shoot it differently. I would shoot it and bring the cue ball down here. Or I don't even know if I was playing. Yeah, I think I would. And I would try to hit it on a little bit on the thicker side just in case, so I can leave the cue ball in that area. Oh, that's wrong. Okay, I wouldn't do that. Let me think. If I was a beginner, I'm sorry, put me back in, coach. I guess I'd hit the same shot, just thin. I'd worry less about the cue ball and just worry about controlling the 8. And that would be a fumble. So if I did that in practice, I wouldn't like it. So, you know what? I figured it out. I'm gonna put the cue ball in the same spot because that combo and the 9 and everything. It's most important here on an intermediate game to make the 8, but to leave the cue ball good. So if that's my miss, I'm probably winning here as an intermediate because they're gonna have to shoot the 9 and there's too much congestion going on. They'd have to get lucky. So first of all, they'd have to come with the big 9 shot, right? And then none of those go over there. Then they'd have to watch all the cue ball movement. Then they'd have to hit this shot, but they would tip up and they would look like that and they'd probably put the 8 ball in and I'd take the points. Okay, and then they're here, see? And then this is what happens. And then they get here and they're in big trouble. They're dead, they lose. So that's the point of having the 8 and the ball in the pocket. I'm sorry, I'm trying to create these scenarios, but I don't always hit everything exactly the way I want the first time. So, okay, that's it. That's it. These minimal cue ball movement things are really important. And the percentages are why. And then here's the thing. We have to practice to understand what our percentages really are, okay? We can't be terrified of this shot. Here's what happens. If we get myopic with it and we think that we need this cue ball right here on the 8 and we start our thinking around getting here, the problem is what we have to go through to get the cue ball here, we might not be able to do, right? It might not be possible to do it. Because here's the other thing. We could say, well, why wouldn't you shoot the 6 and then a stop in the thing? And I'll tell you why I wouldn't do that, Mr. Prospect. Mrs. Prospect, because I want you to follow the ball, okay? Problem 1, I didn't follow the ball. Now, where are we at? No good, okay? No good, we're not winning from there. That position is not getting us to this point, all right? Problem 2. Because this person was a beginner, so I was giving them shots they could handle. Problem 2 is, okay, we're gonna roll forward. Don't worry, Josh. We're gonna roll forward, okay? We're gonna put it here. We don't want an angle, because we don't like shooting with an angle. That is in play. That's totally in play for a beginner, right? Because look at the travel distance. A lot can happen on the way to grandmother's house or whatever. Okay, well, you're exaggerating. Okay, you're right. They wouldn't scratch, okay? I don't worry about thickness, Josh, because I just worry about making the ball. Oh, what? That's okay. How do we get here? How do we even get here from here as a beginner, intermediate player? Ain't happening. Even that's the greatest shot they hit all week, and this is what they got on the 8. They're playing safe or banking it. Okay, so you get it, I hope. I'm trying to be a jerk either. I'm trying to help you guys see how it goes wrong, right? And the reason is the minimal cue ball movement, right? So if you really wanted to play this pattern and shoot the 2, 6, 7, you would do this. You would say this. You'd be like, I have to roll this thing forward to exactly this point. Just 3-inch shot. And as soon as I do that, now I got problems, right? Because now I do this, and now I can't get down to that spot. It's like, but if I just run it back, okay, and I don't play any positional shots other than just little bunty shots, I'm super high percentage on it, okay? Just replace the 1, bunty, okay? Just run down past the 7 an inch. Okay? Give myself a shot on the 8. I've been training enough, I know that I want a little less angle, so I'm gonna push to that rail. Just like that. Not my favorite shot, 50-50. Let's go, push. If I get lucky, it goes in, and if I don't leave them anything. Not that I don't leave them anything, I leave them a tough bank. So they're left-handed, they're nervous, they're an intermediate player. They can't hit these banks. Ooh, that was so close, I almost lost the game. That's it, okay, I'm done. I don't feel like this is douchey or angry or anything. I feel like I'm just explaining like what I see. It's minimal cue ball movement. The reason why I said it 17 times is because I'm trying to get it across to you guys. Okay. All right. I love you. Hopefully you don't cancel your subscription or your paid subscription. Hopefully you're in a paid subscription by now. So let's assume that I got my subscriptions going, my paid thing. Support the channel. Stop being a mooch. Support the channel. I don't care. It's $20. You can afford it. Let's go. Bye.